Amara was the kind of person people call strong, but they never really see what that strength costs. She didn't come from money. No shortcuts, no safety net, no one quietly fixing things behind the scenes. Everything she had, she built from nothing. For years, her life was just work, and more work. Morning shifts, night shifts, weekends, she said yes to everything. While others were out celebrating birthdays or going on trips, Amara was clocking in, exhausted but focused. There were nights she came home so tired she didn't even eat, just fell straight onto her bed. Some days, she questioned if it was even worth it, but she kept going. She learned how to survive on less. Cheap meals. No shopping. No vacations. Every dollar had a purpose. Every sacrifice meant something. She wasn't just saving money, she was building a future where she wouldn't have to struggle like this forever. Slowly, over time, her account started growing. A few hundred, then a few thousand, then more. It wasn't fast. It wasn't easy, but it was hers. And then one day she opened her banking app and just stared. $140,000. She couldn't believe it at first. Her hands literally shook. All those sleepless nights, all those silent sacrifices, they had turned into something real, something solid. To anyone else it might just look like a number. But to Amara it was everything. It was her security, her peace of mind, her way out. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. Amara had always believed one simple thing: family is safe. No matter what happens outside, no matter how hard life gets, your family is the one place where you don't have to be careful, where you don't have to question intentions, where love is supposed to be automatic. And for her that meant trust, complete, unquestioned trust. She respected her parents deeply. Everything they said she listened, everything they advised she followed. In her eyes, they weren't just her parents. They were people who would never let anything bad happen to her. So when it came to her money, her hard-earned savings, she didn't feel the need to hide anything. In fact, she did the opposite. She gave them access. It didn't even feel like a big decision at the time. Felt normal, responsible even. She told herself, what if there's an emergency? What if something happens and they need help quickly? She wanted to be the kind of daughter who shows up without hesitation. So she shared her financial details with them, her account access, everything they would need in case of an emergency. And after that, she never thought about it again. There were no warning signs in her mind, no fear, no second thoughts. She didn't check her account with suspicion. She didn't feel the need to monitor anything closely. Because why would she? These were her parents, the same people who raised her, the same people she was working so hard to make proud. In her heart, there was no space for doubt. Trust for her wasn't something she gave carefully. It was something she gave fully. Sometimes her friends would joke or even warn her, "You trust people too easily." But she would just smile and shake her head. They didn't understand. This wasn't people. This was family. And family doesn't betray you. At least, that's what she believed. She truly believed that no matter what, her parents would protect her, not hurt her. That they would guard what she had built, not take it. That they would stand beside her, not cross a line she didn't even know existed. So she never questioned it. Not once. And that's what made what came next hurt even more. It was just a normal day. Nothing special, nothing dramatic. Amara was on a short break at work, sitting quietly with her phone in her hand. She wasn't stressed, wasn't expecting anything unusual. In fact, she was feeling a little proud of herself that day. Life was finally starting to feel stable. Out of habit, she opened her banking app. Just a quick check. Something she always did. But the moment the screen loaded, something felt off. She frowned slightly and looked again. Her balance didn't look right. Actually, it didn't look real at all. She blinked, thinking maybe the app hadn't refreshed properly. Maybe it was a glitch. Her fingers moved quickly as she refreshed the page again. Same number. Almost zero. For a second, her brain just refused to understand it. Didn't make sense. This was the account she had built for years. The one that had $140,000 sitting safely inside. Her heart dropped so fast it felt like her whole body went cold. No, this can't be right, she whispered to herself. Her hands started shaking as she tapped into the transaction history. And that's when everything really fell apart. One by one, the transactions appeared on the screen. Large withdrawals. Back-to-back transfers. Amounts so big they didn't even look familiar. Thousands gone. Then more gone. Again, and again. Her eyes moved faster, scrolling down in panic, hoping, begging to find something that made sense. Some explanation. Some mistake she could fix. But there was nothing. No warning. No message. No approval from her. Just a clear record of everything being taken. Every dollar she had worked for. Every late night, every sacrifice. Every moment she chose work over rest. It was all being erased in front of her eyes like it never existed. Her breathing got heavier. The noise around her faded. It felt like the world had suddenly gone quiet, but too loud at the same time. She tried to think. Tried to stay calm. Maybe it's fraud, maybe someone hacked it, she thought, holding on to that small hope. But deep down, something didn't feel right. Because these weren't random transactions. They were too clean. Too direct, too intentional. Her grip tightened around her phone as the reality slowly started sinking in. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a system error. This was real. And somehow, everything she had built was gone. Amara didn't even remember how she got there. One moment she was sitting at work, staring at her empty account, and the next, she was standing in front of her parents' house, her heart racing so fast it felt like it might burst. Her mind was still trying to catch up with what she had just seen, still hoping, somehow, that there was a simple explanation. Her hands were shaking as she knocked on the door. When her mother opened it, everything looked normal. Too normal. The same calm face, the same relaxed tone. "Amara, you didn't tell me you were coming," her mother said, almost casually. Amara didn't smile. She didn't greet her. She just walked inside, her chest tight, her breath uneven. "Mom, I need to ask you something," she said, her voice low but trembling. Her father looked up from where he was sitting, barely concerned. "What's wrong?" he asked, like this was just another regular conversation. Amara pulled out her phone, her fingers still unsteady, and opened her bank app again. She turned the screen toward them. "My money, my savings, it's gone," she said, her voice cracking. "There are withdrawals, transfers, huge amounts. Did you see anything? Do you know what this is?" For a second there was silence. And in that silence, Amara was still hoping they would look confused, worried, that they would say, "What? No, this can't be right." That they would stand up and panic with her. But they didn't. Her mother didn't even flinch. She just looked at the screen for a brief moment, then looked back at Amara, completely calm. "We needed it," she said. That was it. No apology. No explanation. No urgency. "We needed it." Amara froze. Felt like those 3 words hit harder than anything else. Like the ground under her feet had suddenly cracked open. What do you mean you needed it?" she asked, her voice barely coming out now. Her mother sighed lightly, like Amara was overreacting. "Don't make it a big deal," she said. "It's family." Family. The word that had always meant safety to Amara suddenly felt different. Her father finally spoke, still calm, still relaxed. "We were going to tell you," he added, like that made it better. Like taking everything first and explaining later was normal. Amara stared at them, trying to understand what was happening. Her mind kept replaying the same thought over and over again. This isn't how they're supposed to react. She had come here expecting answers. Maybe even comfort. Instead, she was standing in front of 2 people who acted like nothing serious had happened. Like years of her life didn't matter. Something inside her started to shift in that moment. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. Crack. Small at first, but real. The kind of crack that doesn't go away. Because for the first time in her life, Amara wasn't just shocked by what they did. She was shocked by how easily they did it, and how little it seemed to mean to them. Amara stood there, still trying to process what she had just heard. Her mind was racing, but her body felt completely still, like she was stuck in a moment that didn't make sense. "Where is my money?" she asked again, this time slower, clearer. Her mother looked at her like the question itself was unnecessary. "We told you," she said calmly. "We used it." Amara swallowed hard. Used it for what? Her father leaned back slightly, like he was about to explain something simple. Your brother needed help, he said. His business wasn't doing well. He had an opportunity, but he didn't have enough capital. So we stepped in. Amara felt her chest tighten. So, you took my savings? She asked, her voice shaking now. It's not like that, her mother replied quickly. It's family. His success is your success too. Those words hit her in a way she couldn't explain. She looked at them hoping, just hoping they would realize how wrong this sounded. But they didn't. And not just that, her father continued, almost casually. There were other things too. The house needed upgrades. We had some expenses. You know how life is. Amara blinked, confused. What kind of expenses? Her mother shrugged lightly. We deserve to enjoy a little too. We've done a lot for this family. That's when it really sank in. It wasn't just about helping her brother. It wasn't an emergency. It wasn't something they had no choice about. They had used her money for comfort, for upgrades, for things that weren't even necessary. Amara felt something break inside her again, deeper this time. That was my money, she said, her voice barely steady now. I worked for that. I sacrificed everything for that. Her mother's expression hardened slightly. And we raised you, she replied. Everything you have is because of us. There it was. Not just justification, but entitlement. Amara shook her head slowly, disbelief written all over her face. You didn't even ask me, she whispered. Her father sighed like she was missing the point. We didn't think we needed to. This is how family works. We share. That word felt so heavy now. Because this wasn't sharing. Sharing is when you give. This was taking. Amara looked at them, really looked this time, and realized something painful. Something she had never allowed herself to see before. To her this was theft. Clear. Wrong. Unforgivable. But to them, they truly believed they had done nothing wrong. In their minds they had the right to take, the right to decide, the right to use her hard work like it belonged to them. And that hurt more than the money being gone. Because money can be earned again. But this was the moment Amara realized that the people she trusted the most didn't see her the way she saw them. Not as someone to protect, but as someone they could take from, without even asking. Amara didn't scream. She didn't argue. She didn't even try to prove them wrong anymore. For a moment she just stood there, looking at them like she was seeing them for the first time. All the words she wanted to say, everything sitting in her chest, just stayed there, heavy. Because what was the point? They weren't listening. They didn't feel guilty. They didn't even think they had done something wrong. And somehow, that hurt more than anything. She slowly nodded like she understood, even though she didn't. Her lips parted slightly like she was about to say something, but nothing came out. So she just said, okay. That one word felt empty, lifeless. Her parents didn't notice the difference. Or maybe they did, and just didn't care. Amara turned around and walked toward the door. Each step felt heavier than the last. Not because she was weak, but because something inside her was breaking quietly piece by piece. No drama. No shouting. No tears in front of them. Just silence. But inside, everything was collapsing. Years of waking up early. Years of saying no to herself. Years of choosing responsibility over comfort. Every single sacrifice she made flashed through her mind like a movie she couldn't pause. All of it gone. Not slowly. Not over time. In one moment. In one decision she didn't even get to be part of. When she stepped outside, the air felt different. Colder somehow. Or maybe it was just her. She walked without thinking, not even sure where she was going. Her phone was still in her hand, but she wasn't looking at it anymore. She didn't need to. The damage was already done. Her chest felt tight like it was hard to breathe properly. Not because she wanted to cry, but because the pain was too deep for tears. This wasn't just about money. It was about everything that money represented. Her independence, her safety, her future. And now, it was all gone. And the people who took it were the same people she trusted the most. That realization didn't explode. Settled. Low. Heavy. Permanent. From that day, something changed in Amara. She stopped sharing things, stopped opening up the same way, stopped feeling safe in a place that once felt like home. She didn't announce it. She didn't explain it. She just pulled back, quietly. Distance started to grow, not in loud arguments or big fights, but in silence, in shorter conversations, in fewer visits, in the way her voice lost its warmth. Her parents probably thought she would get over it, that she just needed time. But this wasn't something you move on from, because when trust breaks like that, it doesn't make noise, just disappears. And Amara felt that loss more than anything else. At first, it looked like Amara had accepted everything. She stayed quiet. She didn't bring it up again. No calls, no messages, no arguments. From the outside, it almost felt like she had chosen peace, like she had decided to let it go. But inside, something else was happening. Something calm, something careful, something her parents never expected. Late at night, when everything was quiet, Amara would sit alone with her laptop, going through her bank account again. Not to cry this time, but to understand. Every transaction, every withdrawal, every transfer. She started looking at it differently now. Not as loss, but as evidence. Her hands didn't shake anymore. Her mind felt clearer. The pain was still there, but it had changed shape. It wasn't just hurt now. It was focus. That's when she reached out to the only person she felt she could trust without question. Her uncle, Tund Balwa. He wasn't loud. He wasn't emotional. But he was wise. And more importantly, he listened. When Amara finally told him everything, there was a long silence on the other end. Not the kind of silence her parents gave her. This one felt heavy, serious. Then he said one sentence that changed everything. "This isn't just wrong, this is illegal." Amara didn't respond immediately. Hearing it out loud made it real in a different way. Not just betrayal, but a crime. From that moment, things started moving differently. Uncle Tund didn't tell her to forgive. He didn't tell her to stay quiet. He guided her, step by step, carefully. Amara started collecting everything. Bank statements, transaction histories, access logs. She went back months, checking dates, times, patterns. She noticed things she hadn't seen before. Withdrawals she never approved. Transfers made without her knowledge. Some signatures didn't even match. That's when it hit her. Forgery. Her chest tightened for a second, but she didn't stop. Not this time. She documented everything. Screenshots, printed records. Every detail mattered now. What once felt like a painful memory was turning into something solid, something that couldn't be denied. Proof. Clear, undeniable proof. And the more she uncovered, the clearer it became. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't family helping family. This was unauthorized access. This was manipulation. This was fraud. For the first time since everything happened, Amara didn't feel powerless. She felt prepared. Not loud. Not angry. Just ready. Because while her parents were living their lives, thinking she would eventually forgive and forget, Amara was quietly building a case they would never see coming. While Amara was quietly putting everything together, her parents were living like nothing had changed. The house felt the same. The routine stayed the same. Morning tea, casual conversations, normal days. No tension. No urgency. No fear. To them, this situation wasn't serious. It was just temporary discomfort. Sometimes her mother would mention her in passing, shaking her head slightly. "She's just upset," she would say. "She'll calm down." Her father would agree without even thinking twice. "Of course she will. She always does." And that was the belief they held on to. That no matter what they did, Amara would come back. 'Cause she always had. Every time there was a disagreement in the past, she was the one who adjusted. The one who stayed quiet. The one who chose peace over conflict. In their minds, this was no different. Just another moment that would pass. "She's sensitive," her mother said one afternoon. "But she's a good girl. She won't turn against her own family." That sentence said everything. They didn't see her silence as distance. They saw it as weakness. They didn't see her absence as a warning. They saw it as time she needed to cool down. Meanwhile, small changes were happening around them, but they didn't connect the dots. Amara wasn't visiting anymore. She wasn't calling. She wasn't asking about anything. No questions. No emotions. Nothing. And somehow, that made them even more comfortable. Because in their minds, no reaction meant no action. No confrontation meant no consequences. They continued spending, continued living, continued believing everything was under control. Her brother moved forward with his business like nothing unusual had happened. The house upgrades continued. Life kept going. Normal. Too normal. They laughed. They planned. They moved on. Completely unaware that the silence they were enjoying wasn't peace. It was distance. Carefully chosen. Deliberate. And dangerous. Because while they were convinced that Amara would forgive them, like she always had, they didn't realize something important had already changed. This time she wasn't coming back to fix things. This time she was preparing to end them, not with anger, not with shouting, but with something they never expected from her. Consequences. And the most dangerous part, they had no idea it was coming. It was just a regular morning. Sunlight was streaming through the windows. Coffee mugs were being filled, and her parents were talking casually about plans for the day. Nothing felt unusual. Nothing hinted at what was about to happen. Then a loud, commanding knock echoed through the house. Not a casual tap. Not a knock that anyone could ignore. This one demanded attention. Her mother frowned, looking toward the door. "Who could that be this early?" she muttered half to herself. Her father shrugged and went to open it, still completely unaware. But the moment he swung the door open, the world seemed to tilt slightly. Standing there were two police officers. Serious. Professional. Steady. Uniforms crisp. They didn't smile. They didn't joke. They weren't here for pleasantries. "Good morning," one of them said firmly. "We're here regarding financial fraud." Her parents froze. Confusion, disbelief, panic, it all showed on their faces at once. "Fraud," her mother echoed, taking a step back. What do you mean?" Her father's hands went slightly up, instinctively, like he was trying to explain something before even knowing what it was. "There must be some mistake," he said quickly. But no one was listening. The officers had already started asking questions, calmly but firmly, about accounts, transactions, and access permissions. And in the corner of the room, almost invisible at first, Amara stood, quiet, observing. Her parents didn't notice her at first. They were too busy trying to process the officers standing there, trying to make sense of what they were hearing. Amara's heart was steady, even as her chest tightened slightly with anticipation. She didn't need to speak. She didn't need to act. The evidence she had collected, the months of preparation, the careful steps she had taken, it was all about to do the talking for her. The room felt like it had gone silent. Time seemed to stretch. Her mother's eyes darted around, looking for some explanation, some escape. Her father's confident posture wavered for the first time. Amara's parents had never imagined this moment. Never in a million years. And as the officers calmly explained that they had documents, proof, and reports, all pointing to unauthorized withdrawals, forged signatures, and clear financial fraud, the house itself seemed to freeze. No one moved. No one spoke. The silence was heavy, broken only by the officers' steady voices and the faint sound of Amara's quiet breathing. In that moment everything changed. The parents' confidence, their belief that she would forgive and forget, crumbled instantly. And Amara stood there quietly, letting the truth finally catch up to them. Her parents just stood there, frozen. Shock painted every line of their faces. The confident, relaxed people who had once thought Amara would forgive anything were suddenly silent, powerless, exposed. Her mother's voice was barely a whisper. You called the police on us?" Amara didn't flinch. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even raise her eyebrows. She just looked at them calmly, her eyes steady, unshaken. "You didn't just take money," she said softly, but every word cut through the room like glass. "You took everything I built, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every single thing I worked for, gone. And you didn't even think twice." Her parents opened their mouths, but no words came, not because they didn't want to speak, but because they realized for the first time that this wasn't something they could fix with excuses, charm, or their usual confidence. The officers began explaining the legal process. Papers, statements, formalities. Amara listened quietly, letting it happen, letting it all unfold. There was no satisfaction in anger, no joy in revenge. There was only truth, and finally justice. Weeks later, after the legal process had begun and the first steps toward restitution were underway, Amara found herself in a small apartment. It wasn't the house she had grown up in. It wasn't the luxury she had once dreamed of, but it was hers. Completely hers. She unpacked a few boxes, set her coffee mug down on the small table, and looked out the window at the city lights. For the first time in months she felt peace. Not because the past was fixed, not because her parents had been held accountable, but because she had taken control of her own life again. Stronger, independent, protected. She smiled faintly, thinking about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the loss, the quiet pain, and the preparation that had led her here. They thought I would choose family over justice, she whispered to herself, her voice calm, firm. But they forgot, respect is what makes a family. And in that moment, Amara didn't just feel relief. She felt power. She felt freedom. She felt herself, finally,